Let's run a quick experiment. 2 white t-shirts. Same cotton, same stitching, same fit. One is $10. The other is $500. Because it has a logo. A tiny one. Maybe it's stitched, maybe it's printed, maybe it's hand-finished by monks who only sew on Tuesdays. Now, according to the law of demand, this should be easy. People should want more of the cheaper shirt and less of the expensive one. But that's not what happens. In the real world, people camp out. They refresh the website. They join the wait list. They pay resale for the $500 shirt. That's not preference. That's not taste. That's a glitch. A glitch in the human operating system. And that glitch has a name. The Veblen Paradox. Why you buy things because they're expensive. And if you're middle class, earning decent money, trying to build a life, this paradox can quietly destroy your net worth while you feel like you're doing well. Today, we're going to expose it. Introduction. My name's Bobby, and my mission is simple. Expose the invisible games people play that keep them broke, stressed, and constantly almost there. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of us are not buying products. We're buying permission. We're buying belonging. We're buying relief from the fear that people will see us as behind. And the most profitable industry on earth is built on that fear. Today's thesis is blunt. For some products, the price is the product. And if you don't see that, you'll keep playing a game you are mathematically guaranteed to lose. Not because you're dumb, because you're human. Let's get into it. Part 1. The history of conspicuous consumption. In 1899, an economist named Thorstein Veblen noticed something that most economists didn't want to admit. Humans don't just buy things for usefulness. We don't just buy warmth, or comfort, or function. We buy status. But not the calm kind of status, the loud kind, the kind you can see. Veblen called it conspicuous consumption. Basically, spending money in a way that proves you can afford to waste money. And when you hear it like that, it sounds ridiculous, but it's everywhere. Veblen pointed out how wealthy people used waste as a flex. Heavy silver spoons that are too heavy to comfortably eat with. But that's the point. If you can eat with an inconvenient spoon, you're saying, I'm not doing this for efficiency. I'm doing this because I can. Or corsets so restrictive you can barely breathe. Why would anyone wear something that makes basic life harder? Because suffering can be a signal. It says, I don't have to work. I don't have to move. I can afford to be decorative. And that is the core idea. Sometimes we don't buy for value. We buy to show we can afford non-value. Waste becomes proof. And in modern life, we just replaced silver spoons and corsets with watches, cars, handbags, shoes, neighborhoods, restaurants, vacations, and limited edition everything. Same behavior, new packaging. Part 2. The mechanism. Price as a feature. Let's talk mechanics. Normally, demand curves slope down. Higher price, fewer buyers. But Veblen goods are weird. They can have an inverted demand curve, meaning raise the price and demand goes up. Not because people suddenly got richer overnight, because the price itself becomes a feature. Price creates exclusion, and exclusion creates meaning. If everyone can have it, it stops being a status signal. If you can get it at Target, it's not a badge anymore. Now, let's use the Rolex example. A Rolex is not expensive because it costs that much to make. Materials? A few $100. But if Rolex sold watches for $200, nobody would want them, because the signal would be gone. Rolex isn't really selling time. They're selling distance. They're saying, I'm not like you. And that is why you'll see brands do things that seem insane. Raise prices even when production costs barely change. Destroy unsold inventory. Limit supply on purpose. Create artificial scarcity. Because for Veblen goods, accessibility is the enemy. The goal is not to be loved. The goal is to be unreachable. And marketing knows exactly how to weaponize your brain against you. You don't crave the object. You crave what the object implies. That you've made it. That you're safe. That you're respected. That you can stop proving yourself. Except you can't. Because the proving is the product. Part 3. The Peacock Theory. Evolutionary psychology. Now let's get darker. Because this isn't just capitalism. This goes older than Gucci, older than Louis, older than Rolex. This goes back to biology. The peacock's tail is one of the most famous examples in evolutionary psychology. It's huge, it's heavy, it's bright. It makes the peacock worse at surviving, harder to fly away, easier to spot, more exhausting to carry. It's a handicap. And that's exactly why it works. The tail signals, I'm so genetically fit I can survive even with this burden. In other words, my disadvantage is proof of my strength. Now, translate that to modern life. A luxury car with a massive payment, a big house that stretches your budget, a watch that costs more than your emergency fund, a vacation financed on a credit card. These are financial peacock tails. They're burdens we carry to signal to the tribe, look, I'm thriving. But here's the twist. In nature, that peacock tail is honest. It's a real handicap. In modern society, it's also honest. Because the handicap is real. That car payment is real. That interest is real. That lost investing time is real. You're not just buying a thing. You're buying a constraint. And you're hoping the tribe applauds the constraint enough to make it worth it. But the tribe is not paying your bills. The tribe is not funding your retirement. The tribe is not waking up at 3 a.m. with you. Part 4. The Middle Class Trap. Pecuniary Emulation. Now we get to the trap what hits the middle class hardest. Veblen had a term for it. Pecuniary emulation. It means people imitate the spending patterns of those above them to signal success. Middle-class earners copy rich lifestyles, not because it makes sense, because it feels necessary. Because nobody wants to be the only one at the barbecue who looks less successful. But here's the crucial distinction that almost nobody says out loud. The rich buy luxury with surplus capital. It doesn't hurt them. They already have assets that spit out cash. You, if you're middle class, often buy luxury by trading compounding assets for depreciating liabilities. Let's make it painfully practical. Path A, you invest $500 a month into index funds, retirement, and maybe a brokerage. You build liquidity, you build options, you build time. Path B, you treat yourself into a bigger car payment, nicer upgrades, premium brands, and weekend flex spending. And you still feel behind. Because you are trying to buy a feeling that doesn't stay purchased. That's the treadmill. You buy the logo, you get a brief dopamine hit, people notice for about 11 minutes, then the elites move. They always move. As soon as the middle class catches up to loud luxury, the wealthy switch to quiet luxury, stealth wealth, no logos, private experiences, things you can't photograph. So you end up in the worst possible position. You paid full price to play the game, and the game changed. Now you look try-hard, and you're broke. And it's not because you're weak. It's because the system is designed to monetize your need to feel accepted. Status is a moving target. And if you chase it with spending, it will always stay one step ahead of you. Conclusion. The solution.
So what do? You opt out. Not in a bitter way, in a powerful way. You stop trying to look rich, and you start trying to be free. Because here's what real status is: liquidity, low fixed expenses, an emergency fund that lets you breathe, investments that compound while you sleep, time you actually control, the ability to walk away. That's status. Not the bag, not the watch, not the car. Those are props, and props don't protect you. Freedom protects you. Here's a practical framework you can use starting today. When you want to buy something expensive,
Am I buying this for me or for the audience in my head? Then ask the second question, the one that stings. If nobody could ever see this, would I still want it? And then the final question, the one that changes lives. Is this purchase stealing from future me? Because future you is either building an empire or cleaning up a mess you financed for attention. You don't need to win the status game. You need to stop playing. The game is designed so you never feel like enough, but you are enough. And the most contrarian thing you can do in a world addicted to appearance is build reality, build assets, build calm, build options. Because the most impressive signal isn't a watch on your wrist, it's the peace of mind in your eyes. If this hit home, you're not alone, and you're not late. You're just waking up. Now go build the kind of wealth that doesn't need to prove itself.